Ellevate Louisiana's November Taxation and Economic Development Committee meeting. I'm Julie Stokes, founder and CEO of Ellevate. For today's discussion, we're joined by Keely McGibboney, Senior Policy Manager of Economic Competitiveness at LED. Keely's a governmental affairs professional with more than a decade of experience in federal and state policy. Before joining LED, she served at One Acadiana in several leadership roles, including Senior Director of Government Affairs. She is also a graduate of the University of Louisiana at Lafayette and spent time in Washington, D.C. working for Congressman Charles Bustani. She was also an Ellevate member until she was recently hired at LED. So I thank you, Keely, for joining us. We're looking forward to hearing from you. So with that, let me hand it over to you so you can tell us a little bit more about what's going on at LED.
So very pleased to be here with you today. An honor to come and speak to Ellevate. And we have a lot of exciting things going on at the department. So this is really a good time to have a discussion about where the state is going in terms of economic development in general, in terms of incentives more specifically, and to hear from you about what's on your mind in that space as we move forward. Louisiana economic development right now is our motto is positioning Louisiana to win. All of the work that we are doing as a department is focused on that goal. And within that, you may have heard the secretary speak to a whole of government, a whole of Louisiana approach in that. And that really involves everyone being at the table together and hearing ideas from everyone and learning about best practices. And so there are folks on this call who I know are engaged more deeply with LED, than maybe your average person. And we appreciate that. And we want that engagement coming into the department. It only helps us in our work. So thank you for being here and being interested in the topic. Before talking about some of our incentive programs, I wanted to go just a little bit into the department's comprehensive statewide strategic plan. Many of you may have heard Secretary Bourgeois speak on this recently. It's something that's been in the news as well, and that we're very proud of, is that in the 2024 regular session, we had the Positioning Louisiana to Win legislation, which established the Louisiana Economic Development Partnership. So this is a board that is made up of private sector leaders from all 8 of the state's economic regions. In Acadiana, it's Matt Steller is the representative on the LEDP. Saying that because I'm a Lafayette girl, so from Acadiana. So we have representation, though, of private sector leaders from each region. And their purpose and their goal that we are working with them on is to get their advice on private sector impact in Louisiana. And one of the things the LEDP was charged with was developing a statewide strategic plan. And prior to 2025, it had been about 16 years since LED had a strategic plan. And so as we're thinking about where the state needs to go in long-term economic success, of course, it makes sense that we need to have a strategic plan, and that plan needs to be driven by the private sector's advice and guidance and experience doing business and being successful in Louisiana. And so we released the 2025 strategic plan, Positioning Louisiana to Win, and we have both an abbreviated version and a long-form version of that on our website. If you're interested, it's opportunitylouisiana.gov/strategic-plan, or you can just Google LED strategic plan and it'll come up there. We're excited for folks to dive into that. But as part of it, we have this beautiful document. We have this long-form plan that's informed by data, metrics on Louisiana's current leadership in sectors and on certain issues and where we can really take things to the next level. But the next step of having the plan is implementing the plan. And so one of the things that Secretary Bourgeois has been on the road talking about, you may have seen she's been doing a Driving Louisiana Opportunity tour and has been on the radio a bit talking about our 9x90 work plan. So 9x90 is essentially, we're pulling 9 initiatives out of that strategic plan that we're going to implement by the end of 2026. They're set for full implementation. And the reason it's called 9x90 is because in 2026, LED turns 90 years old. So we're going to have those 9 initiatives pulled from the strategic plan to help us take the state's economic future to the next level, implemented all by LED's 90th anniversary in 2026. So within the strategic plan, we have pillars of prosperity. We have these 5 goals that everything we do, all of the work that we do is geared to protect. And so that's ease of doing business, driving high wage employment opportunities in the state, creating thriving regions. Our regional economic development organizations are some of our closest partners in the work that we do. And each of these regions across the state has their unique asset sectors, has unique strengths. And so we really want them to thrive. We want to drive growth and innovation and lead in legacy sectors as well as new and emerging. And we want to have global impact. Louisiana already does. We just want to keep that momentum going forward. So these 5 pillars are reflected in all of the work that we do. And one of the initiatives in our 9x90 plan is ensuring the state's competitive advantage. And within that goal is our incentive suite, how we compete and win for business and job creation in the state. And so all of the work that we've been doing is focused on making an incentive package that is competitive, that is robust, and is designed to serve Louisiana for generations. And so as I talk through some of these programs, particularly our 2 new programs that I'll touch on, we had all of this sustainability, this return on investment to the state of Louisiana and to its citizens as the lens that we were using when we restructured this incentive package. And so with that, we'll just dive into what we've got going on with our programs. So again, these programs are positioning Louisiana to win. We had a legislative session. There was a special session, as many of you are intimately familiar, in November of 2024, which restructured the state's tax environment and our incentive landscape. And in 2025, we were able to come back in the regular session and build upon what was restructured in the fall winter of 2024, and really propel the state forward in a meaningful way. And so we took a look at what our incentive suite looks like, thinking about the smartest, most effective way to align it with the goals laid out in our strategic plan, how we can use it to allow Louisiana to move at the speed of business, move at the speed and scale that businesses demand, how we can be more flexible and respond to market conditions, and how we can really support growth across every region. I mentioned our regions are unique. They all have their different economic strengths. And we wanted to really pay attention to that and make sure that we were doing right by each region. And so one of the things that we needed to accomplish was a job creation incentive. The legislature sunset Louisiana's 30-year-old quality jobs program, and that really allowed LED the opportunity to look at a job creation incentive that meets the needs of the modern workforce and the modern economy and the people of the state. And so I want to talk about our new high impact jobs program. So this was created in the 2025 regular session. So it was Act 372. And really what it does is incentivize creation of high wage job opportunities for the people of the state. It's a program that is truly focused on the quality of jobs rather than the straight quantity of jobs that we're attracting to the state. And if we go through just the basic tenets here, so it's incentivizing them to create companies to create new jobs paying above the parish average wage. And this is based on the project location. So in the specific community that jobs are being created, we're asking employers to raise wages locally wherever that is. The benefit percent that a company can receive from the program is based on the wages paid. So the higher the wages they pay, the larger benefit they receive from the program. And this enables the department to provide a pathway to ever-growing wages across the state. One of the reasons that we knew we needed a strategic plan, that the state has been trying to be intentional about the work that we're doing, is we know that we've seen outmigration and we've seen our best and brightest, especially our young folks, feeling like they have to leave the state for better opportunity. What we want to create is an environment for future generations where people can go to school in Louisiana and know that they never have to leave in order to progress in their career and make more money to support their family. That is our goal here. So again, companies are asked, if to qualify for the program, they're asked to pay higher wages than wherever they are locating locally. And that structure looks like this. If a company's paying 125% of the parish average in the parish where their project is located, they're eligible for an 18% grant on those wages. If they're paying at least 150% of the parish average wage in the parish where the project is located, they're eligible for a 22% grant of those new job wages. We also recognize that there are some parts of the state that are truly in need of jobs and investment and maybe have been left out of past growth. And so we wanted to create a lower barrier to entry essentially into the program for some of those areas. And so in a distressed area, a company is eligible for high impact jobs if they're paying wages at 110% or more of the parish or regional average wage, whichever is lower. And that helps us to encourage these communities to compete in a different way for these jobs and this investment. And so companies are eligible for an 8% grant in these distressed areas.
So Keely, if a company comes into a parish and they have, say, 100 jobs, and if some of those jobs are at 125% and some of them are at 150%, and if they happen to be in a distressed area and they've got some at 110, is every job viewed separately or is it an average?
It's every job is viewed separately, so they could be eligible for different tiers depending on the job. That's a great question. And it really highlights that flexibility piece, right? That's kind of where we were going, and making this program adaptable to the specific hiring needs of companies, and in that way encouraging the higher wages.
And how does it work? One more question.
Sure.
How do you claim it? Like, do you deduct that 18% from it's a grant. It's not a tax-based thing at all.
This is a direct grant from LED. It is not a tax credit.
And so is that income taxable? I guess it's that they don't have as much payroll to deduct because they're getting the grant, I guess.
The grant is on the wages. So it's like you would receive, for example, if you're paying 125% of the parish average, you'd receive 18% of the wage back as a direct grant. So now I will say, once your wages hit 200,000, anything above that doesn't get an additional benefit. But you can get, there's no limit on the number of jobs that could qualify for the benefit. And so that was one of the, it's also, you just asked two incredible questions, Julie, because they really highlight some ways that we were trying to restructure this incentive to work better for business. And if we focus on making a program that businesses are attracted to, we then encourage these higher wages to occur more often in our communities. And so ease of use was really something we looked at with this program. And traditional tax credits, while impactful, are just a little, they're not quite as easy to use as a direct grant in this form. And so we really wanted to look at, this is our flagship job creation incentive. We really wanted to emphasize ease of use here with this program.
How long does it last? Is that in your next slide?
It's not in the next slide, no. So the initial term, and I do have a slide here in a bit that's going to kind of show you side by side the differences between QJ and High Impact Jobs Program, because I mentioned, just in case anyone has joined the call in the last few minutes, that the High Impact Jobs Program is replacing LED's 30-year-old previous Quality Jobs Program. And so we're really, we took that opportunity to truly revamp a job creation program and create something new that works better for Louisiana. So the initial term of this is 3 years with the option to renew for 2 years. Now, I did mention just now that we had a lower barrier to entry for those distressed areas. In our rules, the distressed benefit structure looks like this. So distressed areas are essentially three things: either the 25% of parishes, and I'm going to go into that in the next slide, what parishes those are, the 25% of parishes with the lowest annual average wages. And what I'll say about this, the data for this program is Bureau of Labor Statistics data. So this is going to be based on their annual wages by parish. So the 25% of parishes, which in the state is 16 parishes with the lowest annual average wages, or areas census tracts that are deeply distressed within the New Market Tax Credit Program, or if projects have a demonstrated significant community impact. And the way that that would be demonstrated is the Regional Economic Development Organization, or REDO, associated with the project footprint would would write a letter of recommendation to the department and say, here are all the reasons that this is a highly impactful project for this community. And then the department could take a look and see whether that would then qualify for the distressed benefit. So this is really what we're looking at. And what the 25% of parishes across the state look like is this. So, and I'll say as well that the federal wage data gets updated annually. So annually we will see program requirements shift, but currently these are the 16 parishes with the lowest annual average wages. You see a high concentration kind of in that northeast area in Louisiana, but again, the program is designed to be flexible and adaptable. So this will shift over time as wages across the state shift. And then census tracts that qualify as deeply distressed under the New Markets Tax Credit Program, this really creates eligibility all across the state. So we know that those 16 parishes with the lowest annual average wages, there is some spread across the state, but there is a concentration in Northeast Louisiana. These census tracts are truly spread really more widely across the state. And again, these are deeply distressed census tracts. This is about 18% of census tracts in the state that fall outside of the fully distressed parishes are qualified as deeply distressed. And so the way that the eligibility, the program is actually available to a wider range of industries than the Quality Jobs Program was. So, and these industries are widely in alignment with LED's strategic plan. What I'll say is generally, if you're not listed as one of the ineligible industries on our program page, and I'll say this slide is a general representation. We do have some additional eligibility parameters set on our webpage, more guidance there. If you're not listed as ineligible, generally your industry is typically considered eligible, but we do also have broad alignment here with the state strategic plan. So our 7 priority sectors outlined in the strategic plan are logistics, aerospace and defense, professional services, agribusiness, life sciences, technology, and energy and process industries. I think that was all 7. So those are areas where you're definitely going to see eligibility across kind of the board there. But again, if you're not listed sort of ineligible, then generally considered eligible. Many of these ineligibility parameters were set in the law, so they will kind of stay static. But again, there's additional eligibility guidance online, but broader than our previous job creation program.
What's wrong with law and accounting services?
Nothing is wrong. Nothing is wrong at all. Nothing is wrong. We, recognizing though that we have to, it's a new program and we're trying to be generally conservative overall for the eligibility parameters. And there are certain industries that have, naturally high wages, but absolutely nothing wrong with those industries. And we definitely support folks who are doing those jobs. I appreciate that, Julie. I know you're one of those experts. So I mentioned this a moment ago, but walking through how the program differs from Quality Jobs. So we did just kind of want to provide a bit of a side-by-side comparison. It's especially helpful given that, we did have Quality Jobs for 30 years. And so in that time, folks get very used to, what the program looks like. But this kind of gives you some information on how we were trying to kind of evolve and move toward a future economy with this program. So Quality Jobs, an incentive for business. Go ahead.
I did have a couple of questions that I just noticed in the chat, and I think they might fit well here before you delve into this. But Jackie Shreves was wondering, is this a unique approach, like using the High Impact Jobs Program, or is it modeled on other states' efforts to attract businesses?
That's a great question as well. We did a lot of research into other states' programs, and I will say that there are others that we looked at as a model for this. We're not the only ones that are doing average wage thresholds that companies need to meet, and so we can provide more information if you're interested on some specific states. But I will say there are at least a handful of other states that look at setting thresholds for wage growth in eligibility for the program. So that's a great question.
And then there is another question. Do they have to hire current Louisiana residents, or can they hire people moving in?
The employees, if they're moving in and they become a Louisiana resident, the jobs have to be for Louisiana residents. But yeah, if they're moving into the state and becoming a Louisiana resident, I can get some more specific information on that, because there is a statutory definition of that in the legislation, and we use sort of the general. There's a Louisiana residency requirement established in state law already, and that's what we reference. But yes, we can get the minutia of that for you. But the goal is with this not only to create high wage jobs for citizens, but absolutely to attract talent to the state.
Yeah, great. Are there any, we noticed that solar farms were on the ineligible companies, and we're just wondering about other renewable energy company types. Is that the only one that's not allowed, but are other renewable energy companies allowed in the program?
Yeah, I would say generally energy and process industries are generally eligible. So there is a list on our high impact jobs program webpage of kind of the full ineligibility list, and that is listed out by NAICS code. So if you're interested in that, yeah, you can see it there. But energy and process industries is one of our target sectors in the strategic plan. So generally some wide eligibility in the energy space.
Great.
Okay, so quality jobs and high impact jobs. So there was a focus on LED clusters with quality jobs, but I mentioned that high impact jobs actually has a wider range of eligibility. It is in line with our strategic plan, but it's not limited to the industries listed in our strategic plan. And so the real core intent, rather than narrowing it to certain clusters, was to drive wage growth statewide, to create opportunities for high wage employment in all communities across the state. The benefit obviously is very different. High impact jobs offers a generous 18 to 22% reimbursable grant. So one, it's a higher grant, and two, it's administered directly from the department rather than as a rebate through LDR, enhancing ease of use and delivering a more generous benefit for higher wages. And again, that additional benefit, we wanted to create a distressed threshold for these areas of the state that we know are historically underinvested and that we really want to create jobs and opportunity in. The additional benefit for QJ was a state sales and use tax rebate or a 1.5 project facility expense rebate. And what we saw over time is that as projects got more expensive, QJ also got more expensive because of that PFER. And what we really got away from was the true intent of a job creation program. And so with high impact jobs, we did not want to create a capital investment component here. We wanted to instead offer a more generous benefit focused on true job creation and high wage job creation at that. So we have had a couple questions about whether there was going to be or why there wasn't a capital investment component tied into high impact jobs, but it is to truly refocus the flagship job creation incentive on job creation, to put it simply. The wage requirements obviously quite different. This chart gives you a little breakdown there of what an hourly wage might look like to qualify. And we do, because some companies who would be qualifying for this program will be paying hourly. We do have those wages available on the program information for folks to be able to see. And it's broken down by parish as well. So, but generally 125 to 150% of the parish annual average is what you have to meet to qualify. And then to Julie's question earlier, it is a shorter contract term than QJ. It's an initial term of 3 years with the option to renew for an additional 2, but that delivers a higher upfront benefit directly to companies on the front end of a project. And so we see that as kind of an attraction piece here to the program. Job creation oh, go ahead.
I keep doing, I'm sorry. So wage requirement, I noticed where it's 125% of average annual wage, and then you've got $22.30 to $46.23. Is that to say that that 125% of average wage is those two amounts?
I think the spread here is to show what this might look like across different parishes at the 125 threshold.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, but again, there's a full wage chart broken out by parish on the program webpage for anybody who wants to get into the details. And then in that interactive GIS tool, you see, if you're looking up by location, we just give you the numbers so that you know what they are, to make it easier on anyone who's seeking the information, and certainly to make it easier on the companies. And then we also wanted to restructure this program to work for businesses of really all sizes. And, the job creation requirement, so we lowered it to one new job. If you're creating one net new job, that does not include sole proprietorship, so you can't be hiring yourself, to start the company, but creating one net new job, you're paying wages that meet the program requirements, you could be eligible there. So exciting to make it something that works for small and large businesses alike. And then again, back to the eligibility piece, more narrow eligibility for the QJ program, in line with some LED clusters. But we have broader eligibility here for high impact jobs. And generally that is in line with the strategic plan, but is not limited to that. So just a quick comparison of the differences between the programs. And we're really trying to think about the goals laid out in our strategic plan as we tailor our incentive package to work as well as it can for the people of Louisiana. And so this program was very intentionally designed. It ensures that employers are creating high wage job opportunities no matter where they're locating in the state. But they're not going to be held to the same wage standard in a rural area versus a highly urbanized area. It allows those rural and underserved areas with this lower entry threshold to compete for jobs and investment in a different way than they were able to before. And we're looking at having that broader eligibility. We're really looking at attracting investment and job creation across the board in the state's priority sectors. And to your point earlier, Julie, it is about talent attraction and growth. If we're able to have these higher wage opportunities, not only are we going to be able to look at keeping our best and brightest here in the state, we're going to look at attracting people to come and live here and spend their career and their life here with their family. And that's really what we want for the state.
Nonprofits can qualify for this?
Nonprofits are not eligible for the program. So LED typically works with the private sector, and we're focused on kind of attracting those opportunities. Additionally, nonprofits see different tax benefits than the private sector typically does.
That's why I wondered, since it was a grant, it's like, right. What percentage of companies are being accepted for this? Do you have any idea like how that looks?
I don't have a percentage of companies. We are monitoring how the interest that it's attracting, and we have seen several high impact job opportunities. I'll say high impact companies bringing job opportunities who are expected to apply for the program here in the coming months. We announce projects here at LED, and when we do, we typically will talk through the different types of incentives the companies are planning to use. We'll include that, kind of in our press information. And so we have had several companies that are anticipated to use high impact jobs. These companies will have different hiring timelines, right? So sometimes they're, making use of a building that they need to renovate, but other times they might need to build from the ground up. So in terms of when their hiring is going to start, that's going to help them determine when they actually apply for the program. Another thing we saw is quality jobs sunset on June 30th. So we saw an influx of application, I would say advanced notifications come into QJ ahead of that deadline. I think some of those were companies wanting to just have both options. They just wanted to keep QJ as an option on the radar so that they could evaluate the effectiveness of either program for the project work they're anticipating doing. But we have seen several high impact announcements across I will say definitely across the southern regions of the state, seeking to use the high impact jobs program. So that's very exciting. And that is something I think the department's going to be reporting out on regularly as we move into the future. But yes, it's very exciting. Yeah, again, we'll be able to report out on that information more often as time goes by. Sure. And then the last thing to say about the intentional program design really is the adaptability of this program is really meant to help companies address modern workforce needs. So as they are, considering where to locate, as they're making improvements within their facilities, or they're trying to attract folks, we really wanted to make sure that if they're creating high quality, high wage jobs, that this program is broadly available to them. So a lot of these different program parameters support quality over quantity. As folks modernize their workforce, or if they're trying to attract, a few specific types of jobs at this location in Louisiana. So we were really intentional throughout the process of designing the program to be something that works, again, better for the businesses, but better for the citizens of the state, truly. So some quick tips, and this is the last thing that we'll go through on high impact jobs before I want to talk a little bit about our Fast Sites program. I just mentioned quality jobs sunset on June 30th. Companies cannot hold contracts in both programs. So I mentioned some companies are maybe evaluating which one to go with. They will have to choose because they cannot hold both. And again, this administration for this program is solely through LED, so that enhances kind of ease of use on the program side. And we started accepting applications as of July 1. So this program was created in the 2025 regular session, and then we launched it on July 1st. So applications are open on the webpage. And the earliest, this is something we have not touched on, the earliest a company is able to file a claim for reimbursement under the program is 12 months after paying payroll. So what will happen is an independent CPA will verify payroll information after when the company is ready to receive a reimbursement, and they have to have shown, paying that payroll. So it is really designed to make sure that it is serving the people of the state. So we're excited.
Keely, let me ask, if you don't mind, let me ask a question about that. So if we just talk about a hypothetical, and let's say that all jobs, they're under that $200,000 annual salary wage cap, but most of your I would say your taxpayers, your customers, your clients, whatever you want to call them, most of the businesses, their jobs, their payroll is going to fluctuate. It's going to do this. You're never going to have exactly 50 jobs for the entire year. And so do you just get through that 12-month period and then you look at the combined payroll for that 12-month period? And I guess you can look at the SUTA reports for what's been reported to the Workforce Commission. And then you just take, let's say it qualifies for the 18% of that. And that's what the grant is going to be. Or is it more complicated?
So I'll say that, so I'm on the policy development side, and I'll say that the administrative and operations side of the shop is probably more suited to get into the details of that.
Okay.
I will say that, like to your point about fluctuations in those positions, if an employee were to be hired for some amount of months, but not, stay for an entire 12, in situations like that, their wages may still be eligible. If it was perhaps 7 months of wages or something like that. So we are really trying to make sure that it is friendly to the businesses, understanding that there are going to be some kind of changes on the back end like that. But another reason why to have an independent CPA kind of verify the payroll information.
And so that brings up another question. If the company is reporting the wages, they have to report for federal and state purposes. What is the purpose of having an independent CPA also verify what's already been reported for the state and federal purposes, the wages?
They're verifying the payroll. This is another question that I would say that our programs team is probably more equipped to get into the details on, but they're going to be verifying the wages, but there's also some other parameters in the law that need to be met with these jobs, other than just the straight wages. For example, companies have to offer a health benefit with these jobs for them to be eligible. And so there's going to be kind of just a package of information that the CPA is going to have to verify that is not just wages. But that's a great question, and that's something we can get more information from our programs team on. Absolutely.
Okay, thank you. That's very helpful.
Wonderful. Well, if there are no other questions on high impact jobs, and there could be later as well, I want to talk about our Fast Sites program. So this is related to another of our 9x90 initiatives, investing in Louisiana's long game. So we have some specific deliverables related to Louisiana's long game, and one of them is our Sites and Infrastructure Fund. And so this was another initiative that was created in the 2025 regular session by our legislature. This was Act 365, and this is for the state to deliver development-ready infrastructure prep sites And this is something we're increasingly seeing, as you might imagine, being demanded from businesses around the country as they seek to find locations to place their business operations. They really need speed to market. And so how does the state make sure that we're creating and cultivating these sites that are sort of turnkey ready for these companies? And we have already, you have likely heard of the Certified Sites program at LED. So that's, sites will undergo extensive vetting and analysis, and we will put together, in conjunction with our regional economic development orgs and our landowners, we will put together sort of all this information about a site that you need to know. And it really gives you an idea of how, like, this is a development ready site. Here's all the information that you need here. But how to take that to the next level? Let's say a company is looking for increased sewerage or rail access on a site. Fast Sites is LED's way to take these sites truly to the next level and make sure that we're competing and winning with other states around the country. So if we look at that landscape of site development in the US, we are now joining 40 other states with site development programs here. And we have some investment comparison here for you to see some of our especially Southeastern peers here. And we're really jumping strong into the game with this $150 million. So that is truly exciting for us. It is Louisiana's largest ever investment in economic site development. And this puts us, again, in a strong position to win projects. These companies are coming and they are ready to go with their project. And you have to have certified shovel-ready sites to be able to welcome them, or you're out of the game. And we don't want to be out of the game. So we're looking to create sites that are turnkey ready again. We want to deploy these funds to these sites quickly. In fact, the legislature has demanded it. So they want to see us deploy these funds quickly. They want to see a return of investment on these funds. And if we can deliver on this, we will be separated from our peers. And so what we are looking to do, this is, again, a $150 million fund. We have opened applications and created a competitive funding structure for this. We've opened applications that are open until, I believe, December 15th. Yes, December 15th is the date here. And what we're looking for in this program is for competitive sites. How can you take this funding and enhance a site that is going to leverage existing assets, look toward the strengths in the sectors that may want to locate on this property, and really take a site to the next level? And so one of the things we're doing here, I've mentioned a couple of times our regional economic development organizations and how critical they are to our mission. They are one of our closest partners here, and they handle with us the Certified Site program. So that is a REDO and LED joint initiative there. We wanted them to be a key partner in Fast Sites. And so our regional economic development organizations will have to be involved in each application, but applicants could be an EDO, they could be a parish, a municipality. They just cannot come from a private landowner. Private land could be, these funds could be used on private land, but the applicant for the funds would need to be one of those partners, a public entity or a regional EDO or a local EDO, some of which are public and some of which are sort of quasi. And the REDOs, are often private entities. And so, so they will have to be sort of the applicant. And then for these programs, competitive applications, you're going to have to be able to launch initial construction within 9 months. So we're really looking at that expedited timeline, how we get that return of investment back to the state and follow sort of our legislative directive to deploy these funds quickly and make a real difference on our properties around the state. And so I mentioned return of investment, and that is really how we're looking at this program. So applicants are going to have to demonstrate a return to the state in some way, shape, or form. And that does not necessarily look like a return on investment. We don't need to make money, but we would like to make our money back so that this fund can replenish and that we can continue to use it on sites throughout the state. And it's something that is sort of a living, breathing way for us to be competitive with our properties. So applicants will need to demonstrate a defined return and provide a match They'll have to share where the match funds are coming from. And these sort of financial partnerships are built to be flexible. It doesn't have to be one structure or the other. It could be that the state enters into an agreement to be an equity partner. It could be an application as a loan with, potential conditions for loan forgiveness, or it could be some sort of ownership agreement. So there are creative ways, and we want to be flexible, that the department is willing to work in getting the best applications in. And so we have a Fast Sites team led by our Director of Strategic Investments, Landon Lemoyne. So if anybody's interested in more specific details on that program, we can connect you to Landon, or we do on LED's Fast Sites program page, opportunitylouisiana.gov/Fast Sites. We have a webinar just on the Fast Sites program. So it dives into all aspects of that. Eligibility, we talk about some example uses of the funds if you're curious about that. But again, think of infrastructure improvements on these properties. Is it sewerage that would make this a more competitive site? Is it rail access? Is it revamping a road or upgrading a road? Improvements on the property. And a general rule of thumb is if you can see the improvement on the property, then it might be an eligible type of expense for this program. So again, the state here really looking to invest in our long game, not just improve properties, but return this money back so that we can continue to use it in new properties all around the state. We really want to see these funds propel Louisiana's prospects forward. We already are a highly competitive state for business. And again, these companies, though, as projects evolve, are increasingly needing turnkey ready sites. And we don't want to miss out on any opportunities that we know Louisiana is ripe for, because we're lacking in infrastructure. So we really, really want these funds to take our sites to the next level in the state. So those are the two programs that we launched as a result of legislation from the regular session. Kind of two new programs for us in our flagship job creation program. We're very proud of those. As we roll out, continue to roll these programs out, it is totally fair to have the kind of questions that anyone may be asking. And so we encourage you to stay in contact with us. I said I could get some additional information. Julie, please, let me know what would be needed. But it's an exciting time to be in economic development, and that means that we have a lot of information going out the door. And so we're happy to kind of clarify any of that as we go along. I do want to touch through the additional programs that we still offer. One of the things we talked about post session is we did not want companies to think or anyone to think that everything went away, right? We want to make sure that they know we have an incentive package that is designed to help with their development plans. And so at the end of this, there's a slide, we talk about our business incentive guide. We actually created a one-stop shop toolkit for companies to see what our suite of programs looks like after all of these incentive changes. And that is posted online. It's on our incentives webpage. We share it with site selectors and other companies, and it's available for anyone to view because we wanted to make sure that everyone knows Louisiana is open for business. And with that, we still do feature, obviously, our industrial tax exemption program, a key program that is designed to support new manufacturing investments in the state. This program has seen changes over the years. Something Julie and I have talked about before is that, there's just been kind of different changes as we see different priorities take shape for the state. And this year, what we really wanted following the governor's executive order to streamline the program is to do just that. Streamline the program, make it easier for companies to navigate. And so you still see this 80% property tax abatement for up to 10 years. And what I'll say is in the 2025 rules, so this is for applications on or after March 20th of this year, mega projects could be eligible for a full abatement, for basically a 93 to 100% property tax abatement. And mega projects would be $500 million or more in capital expenditures for a mega project. But this is for new manufacturing investments. The investments have to be, you have to be a manufacturer related to the manufacturing of the project site to receive the benefits. And many streamlining efforts were made for this. There's an easier to use application and review process. The program is no longer subject to job or payroll requirements. And if a company had an existing ITEP contract before the rules change, they can actually opt out of the jobs and payroll requirement as well. So providing some parity with folks who had gotten in before the rules changed there. So we have some great information about this on our website and a handy one-pager. If anybody needs that for their networks, please let us know because we can send that around. It really just highlights everything that's changed this year to make this process more simple. But it is truly on the back end, really, with the application and the review. We're having state agencies review simultaneously to kind of speed up the process. There's now a local ITEP committee so that the local review process, which is retained in the rule change, is also more streamlined, and the company can have certainty kind of on a timeline for those local decisions as well. So yes, anybody needing more information from that, again, we have some handy tools for that. Please let us know. But we're excited to have streamlined ITEP as well. In terms of our additional programs, we're still rolling strong with several items here. We have our digital interactive media and software program. We call that DM. So this is really for innovative digital media and software companies who are working here. We want them to be able to gain a competitive edge if they're building products for commercial export, so not for their own internal use, but if they're building platforms like video games, training software, and more. They're eligible for tax credits on their payroll and on production expenditures here. And so this has really allowed some innovative companies to grow here and thrive in Louisiana. So we continue to offer digital interactive media program. LED Fast Start, our workforce training program. This has been ranked consistently for many years as one of the top workforce training programs in the country. Incredibly proud to offer LED Fast Start to eligible companies. So basically, our team will customize recruitment, screening, and training development and delivery so that a company can meet their near-term and their long-term workforce needs. And we will basically get them employees ready to start day one and hit the ground running. So, and again, by industry standard, has been ranked one of the top workforce training programs in the country. So incredibly proud of LED Fast Start. Our restoration tax abatement program. That's an up to 10-year property tax abatement on renovations and improvements of existing commercial structures and owner-occupied residents in certain areas. And so this is a program built to revitalize communities, bring that money back into these certain types of areas. So you see downtown development, historic districts, opportunity zones, still offering that program, as well as the motion picture production program. This is one that we did see some legislative changes in 2025. So Act 44 shifts this program from statute into rule, and this really works into our ease of use, speed to market flexibility goals in our strategic plan. So you'll see some rulemaking shifts for this program in the coming months. And then there was also a program cap put on during the special session of $125 million here. And I know many of you are familiar with this, but this is our program that for companies that are headquartered or domiciled in Louisiana and they're producing motion pictures, they can get some benefits back on, depending on their, I'm so sorry, I'm having a technical issue here. They can get benefits back on their payroll and their production expenditures, and it depends sort of, you can kind of build the benefit in certain different ways depending on what metrics your specific production meets. Like if it's a Louisiana screenplay, you can you have different parameters for the program. But again, be on the lookout for rulemaking on that, and again with an adjusted cap for the program of 125. Another program that saw a cap get issued during the special session is our research and development tax credit. So we're still offering this. It's a 30% tax credit on qualified research expenditures incurred in the state, but a $12 million annual program cap on there in the special session as well. But this really encourages existing businesses with operating facilities in the state to either establish or continue R&D within Louisiana. So that program is still on offer, as well as the angel investor tax credit. Another program, we did see some changes to this in the actually in the regular session of this year. And if anyone is interested in the details of that, we can connect you with our program administrator for the Angel Investor Tax Credit. She's a wealth of knowledge on the program, but Act 515 provided for some program changes that took effect July 1 of this year. Additionally, the program is currently set to sunset on June 30th of 2026. But we are still offering, so this program encourages investment in early stage high growth businesses. And so companies can become certified as a Louisiana entrepreneurial business, which of itself has certain requirements. But if they get certified as an LED, a Louisiana entrepreneurial business, then investors can get tax credits for investing in those companies. And you could get a higher tax credit, a 35% tax credit, if that business is in an opportunity zone or a parish with a population of less than 50,000. So again, some program changes there and a sunset issued on that program. But we really do, if you need more information on kind of the full scope of changes, please let us know. We can get you in contact with our program administrator there. And then I mentioned our business incentive guide. Just want to close with this. We have not only highlighted our incentive package in the business incentive guide, we also talked through the tax structure improvements that Louisiana made, that we are seeing real improvements across the tax spectrum for. I don't know if, I'm sure some of you pay attention to the Tax Foundation rankings that come out every year. Louisiana jumped in our ranking this year. For the first time, we're in the top 10 for corporate income tax competitiveness. And one of the reasons for that is we collapsed our brackets and went to a flat 5.5 corporate income tax rate. With that, we have a $20,000 standard deduction, but we made some other tax changes as well that truly, like permanent full expensing, truly make Louisiana a more competitive environment. And so this is a document, this business incentive guide, that we share out to companies, we share out to site selectors. But again, it's available on our incentives, Louisiana Economic Development Incentives page for anyone to have access to. We really want to be marketing all the work that the legislature and others and the governor and others have been doing to make the state a better environment for business. And so please, if you have folks who are trying to get familiar with what they might be able to what programs they might be able to access being in Louisiana, feel free to share this business incentive guide. We update it and just post the new document online. So whatever's up there is current. We would love for you to spread the word on that. But I just wanted to close with that. I know we're coming up on time, but I appreciate everyone being here. And if there's last questions, I can take any of those.
Yeah, there are a few. And I'm going to give Amelia just a second to get everybody to where you can turn your microphone back on. I know that there are a couple of people, Jackie, Megan, and Lenore, who might want to come on camera and ask their question. All right. In the meantime, I will go ahead and ask not Lenore's question because I see her coming up, but Jackie Shreves asked, when are you anticipating seeing results from these incentives?
That's a great question. In terms of a specific timeline on these, I would say that's hard to say. But what I can say, especially about high impact jobs, is we are actively looking at wage information across the parishes. We're tracking wage growth, and we want to track that information so that we can understand, if these companies are receiving benefits from high impact jobs, what are the higher wage opportunities looking like? Are we seeing wages raised locally because of this? So we have our data team kind of digging into that information as we go along. One of the things that we see so far, though, is that the companies that are anticipated to potentially use the program are creating jobs that are well over the state average wage is about $59,000. And we really want to see that number go up. And in order to see that number go up, you need to see the number go up in local communities. And so there were less than 30% of parishes that met the state average wage, which is not what you want to see. You want to see that growth. And so I would say that we're going to probably need a good couple of years really to start seeing some trends. I can't give a specific timeline, but we are looking into that data as it's coming in. We're kind of poking around. Oh, okay, well, if this company's anticipated to locate in this parish, what do the wages look like based on what they're anticipating to pay? Again, hiring timelines for projects vary. And so until they start, hiring, we're not going to have that harder data. But that's what we're looking at, some projections to hopefully start to be able to answer that question. But that is something we are most interested in. I mean, we really wanted to design the program in a way that data would be able to show at the end of the day if a difference is being made.
All right. So I know that Lenore and then Megan and then Jackie had another question. If y'all want to go ahead and just go in that order. Lenore?
Sure, just super quick. So the cap on the R&D credit, how are y'all administering that? Is it first come, first serve or something else? I'm sure I could just go read the statute, but just quick.
No, I would say that's probably a question for our program team. That is anything in terms of like the credit allocations annually, but we can get that information for you.
No worries. I can just go read the statute. Thanks.
All right. And Megan McCormick.
And I apologize, mine should also be quick too. It's a personal question, but we have a company that applied for the industrial tax exemption. And when they applied, they didn't realize that they were going to be a mega project, but due to inflation and the timing of the application, they are now going to be a mega project over $500 million in investment that they're going to be placing here in St. Bernard. Who would be a good contact to just talk about maybe reworking their contract and maybe some flexibility on the abatement percentage?
So yeah, that would be our programs team. So either Kristen or HUD, and I can give you their contact information. Megan, if you can just drop me. Well, actually, Megan, I don't know if we've exchanged new contact info.
Yeah.
We used to work together, but
yeah.
I don't know if I might. If you just shoot me over your email, I can get you in contact with them. But Kristen Johnson and HUD UC are our program team, and they'll be able to talk you through the best.
Perfect. Thank you.
All right. And Jackie?
You can ignore me. I think I've had enough questions, but
you have. But we like that. You're interested.
It's interesting because I think my question was really quality of life issues in attracting companies to relocate, such as schools for families, housing, and the ever-present insurance question. So does that enter into any of what you all are doing, or am I totally off base in terms of those issues?
I would say, quality of life is absolutely a factor for whether people want to stay in the state with their families. And so with the high impact jobs program specifically, you're going to have a higher quality of life if you can stay in the state and continue to earn higher wages. And so that quality of life is something that we thought through as we designed that program. And again, we want a Louisianan who's born here to know as they grow up and as they get an education and they identify a career path, that they don't have to leave for a better opportunity here and for a better opportunity somewhere else. They can get that opportunity right here in the state. We already have so many incredible opportunities here in the state. And one of our whole overarching areas of work at the department, part of the strategic plan, is how we tell Louisiana's story of the successes that are here already. And then again, with this incentive package and with some other work that we're doing, how do we take those opportunities to the next level? And so quality of life, absolutely something. We're trying to raise wages for Louisiana families. That is really what we want to do there. Some other aspects of your question, I think, rest in other state departments as well. But, certainly we hear about those different kinds of issues from businesses, across the spectrum. But I do think that those are issues that are on the state's priority list as well. Absolutely. But quality of life holistically, that touches so many different aspects. And so for our piece, for job creation, the wage growth for citizens component was the primary driver of how we designed that program.
Well, great. Well, Keely, thank you for taking the time to join us today and really just showcasing the growing work going on at LED. It's a very exciting time.
Absolutely. It is truly an exciting time to be in economic development. And again, for anyone, please, my email is keely.mcgibboney@la.gov. If there's anything that you need for follow-up on this, there's specific program information that, I said we could get, just send me a note. We can absolutely do that. We have an incredible team of administrators who are going to be able to get you the answers that you need. So please let us know.
Well, perfect. Well, to everyone listening, thank you for joining us and being part of the discussion. Keely, thank you again. It's been a great hour learning about the economic development of Louisiana. And for everyone, we hope you have a great of your day. If you're interested in these types of policy talks, check us out on Ellevate Louisiana's website, where you can learn more about our events, our policy committees, advocacy efforts, and how to join. That website is ellevatela.org, ELLEVATELA.org. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with someone who needs to hear it.